Really? That's it? Okay.
Yeah, we're 2 minutes early. We've never done that before in our life.
It's been like a year and a half since we're 2 minutes early.
Does the Cobb Airbox come with the filter? Yes. Hey, look. We're live. Okay, let's go live on the Facebooks, the Facebooks, the Facebooks. Let's go live on the Facebooks. Ho-hoo-ha day. Ho-hoo-ha day. If this one's crappy, we might have to... Oh, that looks okay, doesn't it? Wait, I need to focus the camera. I need to focus the camera. Actually, that looks pretty in focus, doesn't it? Yeah, I've got my face tracking on. How?
You remember when we first did this, when we had the Canon and it just kind of like looked like it was like targeting our face?
Yeah, like you could actually see the on-screen stuff.
On-screen.
Anyway, welcome everybody. Happy Friday. It is a wonderful Friday today, I would say.
It's a beautiful Friday.
It's a beautiful Friday. It's getting a little bit cooler. Oh, what's up, Hunter? Thanks for joining, man. Yeah, so we're back at our normal time. A lot of you guys have asked us to come back on at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and honestly, we think that works a lot better for everybody. It's a little bit more inconvenient for us, but we do it for you guys.
Yeah, just for you guys.
Because we're like the nicest people in the whole wide world. Anyway.
Stop being needy.
Yes. No, we appreciate everybody, and we honestly, the only reason we do this is for you guys. And so I figure if you guys want it at 11, then you get it at 11.
And he has community service to serve, so.
No, I don't. Let's go over what's on sale. So we've been actually having a ton of sales recently. Did the Crawford sale end already?
It ends today.
What time?
I believe at around 10 o'clock.
So Crawford, if you want some Crawford goodies like AOS's mainly, they do have other stuff, but it's 15% off, but you got to hurry because it ends here very shortly. NVIDIA, if you're here, wait, let me switch over to this view because I'm smart, even though YouTube won't see it. Sorry, YouTube.
Sorry, YouTube.
But if you want NVIDIA, it's an extra 10% off the normal retail price. I don't know.
It's not the normal price. It's an extra 10% off of what
like that R400 sounds straight up money.
Oh, yeah.
The R400, and I know a lot of you guys are going to buy the N1s, and that's totally cool. What else do we have? We have Cusco, 10% off. ISC, you get free sleeves with a coilover purchase of your ISC coilovers. And I just installed air cups.
Yes.
Little secret to you guys. The ISC air cups on our 2015 WRX. And you guys will see that video. I think I have it set to launch at noon. So like right after this gets
should be
done.
right after this.
So that'll be cool. And what's interesting about the air cups? Okay, so like we have air bags.
Yes.
Okay, which we had on the WRX before.
Yes.
Then we went with the ISC coilovers. Really like those. Then we went with the ISC coilovers with the air cups. So in my video, I did a review, and I was like, man, this is like very bouncy. And I was like trying to think about why it's so bouncy in my head. Well, the reason is because on an airbag system, right, you have your airbag and then you've got a damper that goes up between it. Yeah. And so the airbag acts like a spring. And so as, you compress and then it wants to pull back up, you have that damper there to like soften that. Yeah. Well, on the air cups, you literally have a air piston thingy that sits above the damper, and you have no damper on it at all. So it's just a spring. So I was driving around with it on like full up. Yeah. It's like the car's like pogo-y.
You're like, what the hell?
I'm like, this is so cool. It was really neat. Nick Stuckey says, wow, 56 notifications on Facebook. Get that under control. Whatever, Nick Stuckey. If you guys like drifting, if there's any drifting fans out there, go see Nick Stuckey's name in the chat. Go follow him. Him and his crew, the Take-Luck crew, they're a bunch of crazy hooligans. And there's a drift event this weekend too. Where? What? Out at UMC. Oh, out at Utah Motorsport Campus. Yes. Formerly known as Miller Motorsport Park, soon to be known as Gilly International Raceway. International Raceway. That's really not it. What is the status of that? We have a local track here, and it's kind of like up in the air as far as who's going to own it and what's going on. So it used to screwed it up. It used to be owned by a local guy here. Who ended up passing away. Yeah. He was like kind of a local legend, I guess, if you will. Yes. And then now it's kind of like up in the air as far as I have no idea what's going on with it. But supposedly Geely, the company who owns Volvo. Yeah, they're creating. Been the one that have been running it right now. Like from my understanding, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, they're actually going to do something really cool because they're creating like an engineering school. They're going to build like F1 type cars or maybe F1 cars. I'm not sure.
Not F1 cars. They're kind of like for a racing series that will be in China.
So they're going to like build cars here and ship them to China. And then like, so then the Chinese people can be like, oh, are these garbage American eBay parts? I wonder if in other countries, if they really like, you know, because we have a certain stigma here about like
other Chinese parts.
Well, yeah, and that honestly needs to go away. Like,
yeah,
that's,
so they're good now.
Well, not all of them, not blanket statement, but like there are parts that are made in, you know, Taiwan. There are parts that are made in Mexico. There are parts that are made in China. There are parts that are made in Korea. There are parts that are made all over the world, right? Indonesia, Uzbekistan, I don't know. Near Japan. There are parts made in Japan. And each one is like, you have some good ones and some bad ones, and it doesn't matter where it's made. It's really, it comes down to like quality control, materials used, you know, tolerances and stuff like that. Because there are parts now that are made in China that are as good or better than, you know, something made in Japan. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. So, but that's always something that I've thought about recently, because we had a lot of, I redid a Gates timing belt kit video. Yeah. So on our video, the video was shot in like 2010. Okay. And people were coming on and they're like, I'm making this up, but they were pretty mean. But they're like, Rick, you are a liar and you suck. These parts aren't made in Japan anymore. And you guys are a scam. And it's yeah, let's not pay attention to the video was made in like 8 years ago. Yeah, it was
like made in 2009. Like, that was one of the first videos uploaded.
I'm like, you know what? You guys are right. So I took it down and redid it because I run Gates components on my car. We run them on a lot of our shop cars. Yeah. And I understand that people have had problems with them before. But people had problems with them before, even when they're all made in Japan. Yeah. People have problems with OE components that are all made in Japan. And not even all the OE components now. Anyway, I'm ranting.
Well, what it is like, you're not going to have 100% success rate on anything.
Yeah.
And like, so there will be some failures. It's just kind of like, it will happen, and like, we will work with you. A lot of people will work with you when it comes to something that's beyond the normal scope.
Ricky Olivia says, Dad, is that you? Yes, I am your father.
And Big DM says, Rick, take that off and let those locks breathe, bruh.
Short hair.
There are no locks.
Yeah, short hair. Short hair, don't care.
That's how long it's been. You've got a haircut.
It's, yeah, I guess so, huh? Let's see. Chris, I'll answer some questions. I'd love to know when you're going to get more aero kits for the 08 through 14 WRX rated fuses and such. I don't know what we have available for. What are you looking for, Mr. Chris?
I mean, we have some APR stuff. And if it's not listed on our site, call in. We can get it. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that we have that we can get that's not listed on our site.
Yeah.
So if there's something that you specifically want from like APR or Cybon or other companies that we carry, like, call in.
Yeah.
Like, we have access to hundreds of thousands of part numbers.
That's right. Yeah. Anyway, so this week has been a kind of a crazy week for us. I know I said last week, because we did like a really crappy Facebook Live or YouTube Live.
We just hopped on and we're just kind of
like, hey, we're back. Bye. So
kind of like that ex-girlfriend that just like sends a text like after a few months, like,
yeah,
how are you doing?
Yeah. So this week, I actually wanted to get into kind of like what we're doing, what's going on. Starting like literally, I was going to start it before we did this live, but I didn't. And so I'm starting on a new project car for RallySportDirect.
Yes.
And it is a Forester XT. And that's all I'll say. So you'll have to watch. The video will probably be out, I'd say, early next week, probably.
Okay.
Mid next week, something like that. But it's going to be really cool, and I'm stoked. And then we are going to start on another project here very soon.
Yes.
This one's going to be...
excited about. I'm really excited.
Super stoked. Both of these projects I'm excited about because I've never done either style of this project. And then
they're like complete opposites.
Yeah, they're complete opposite. And then the one is just it's. I shouldn't even say anything because you guys are like, well, just tell us what it is, and I can't. Like the Forester one is like a little bit more like, yeah, I could probably talk about it a little bit. But the other one I cannot talk about at all because it's super top secret extraordinaire. Yeah. So, but I am very, very excited. Ty says, Rick, did you try the pedal spacer yet? No, Ty, I've not had time to install that. I might install it maybe like next time we work on the WRX, because right now the WRX is just done for the most part. So if you guys don't know, we have a twin charge WRX, which is a pretty interesting system because we use the factory location turbo, and this is the FA20 WRX, so the 15 plus. We use the factory location turbo, and then that gets fed up into a Cosworth supercharger. So an Eaton, no, is it an Eaton?
It's an Eaton based. I
think it's an Eaton based M52 whatever supercharger. And then so it's interesting. I got it all working. You guys can watch my YouTube videos on it. And that was a fun project. But recently we did vinyl graphics. We did the air cups. We did a bunch of Varus aero parts on it. And other than that, like we took it out for a drive, and that was fun. And then that was it. So that one will be parked for momentarily. We'll work on that one later. But I want to do I want to go for either like super quick spool up, like the fastest spooling WRX in the world, right?
1500 RPM.
Yeah.
Well, that idle.
Yeah, it builds boost at idle, basically, without going with like anti-lag or, two-step or something like that. And then, or I want to put a big size turbo on it, because right now the turbo we're using is just kind of in between. It's not the most efficient turbo in the world. And so it's nothing special. So either use a big turbo and have the supercharger help with the low end power, or use like a stock turbo with like a billet wheel or something and go for like ultra spool.
Yeah.
Ultra. I just like that word.
Well, because honestly, we're one of the maybe 2 or 3 that actually have that tuned.
Yeah.
And that type of setup. I mean, there's I forget the dude's name that has that red 15 STI.
Ty.
No, not him. I'm talking about that has the supercharger and turbocharger.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
He has that, and then Jeff at Perrin, he was doing a similar setup to we are, but really don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, we're like one of a handful of people that have probably even twin charged a Subaru in general. I know there are a few out there, but probably even fewer that have twin charged a 15 plus WRX, like the FA20 DIT. So it's interesting, but it works, and it works really well. Steven Taz, I don't like your question, by the way. He says, question, if you're working for RSD IT, do you have to be at RSD, or can you work out of state? I would recommend you probably work here.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of stuff in IT that goes wrong that you actually need to be present for.
Be on site.
Unless you call Pumpkin and you're like, hey Pumpkin,
can you go here?
Can you go check in the server room and make sure that things are turned on?
Grab a hammer.
Yeah, grab a hammer. Grab the master reset switch.
If you do development, then sure.
Yeah, I think some of our developers work out of state. Yeah. Anyway, so talk to me about stuff.
About stuff?
Yep.
Have we talked about the 2019 STI? How long it's been?
No. There's a new STI, guys.
There's a new STI, guys, coming out.
2019 STI. Basically, there's a few differences, but
I think it's a swan song.
Yeah, it's nothing special.
And it finally bumped up into horsepower
to where the 2018 RA was.
Yeah, 310.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure.
A great Focus RS fighter.
So one thing I actually am interested in is the new Ascent, the Subaru Ascent. Ooh. Because of course, you see all the marketing material that Subaru releases, and it looks so awesome. But have you guys seen it with the factory base wheels? It looks like a pile of shit.
Well, it looks like the FRS with how the horrible those wheels were.
Yeah, it looks very, very dumb in my opinion. But with if you spec it out and you actually get the proper bigger wheels for it, it actually looks really cool. I'm sure it's a very nice car. I really want to drive one.
Well, because that's essentially could be the new STI motor. So I mean, that's the one thing I'm excited to check out to see what that would be.
Steven says, sorry, this is funny. He was the one asking about IT. Steven says, I only asked because I got offered a job because I pointed out flaws on the website. Is that, I have a hard time believing that. It might be true. I don't work in the hiring department, but that seems silly. Steven, who talked to you? That doesn't seem like something that we would do. I don't know though. Because I don't think we're hiring for IT.
Oh, we have 2 people and we're enough of that for right now.
And then I also have to question Steven. I'm not questioning your experience as an IT professional, but it does make me wonder, like when someone says that, the thing I picture in my head is them like going on the website and there's like a picture of like a cat back and we have it listed as an axle back and they're like, ooh, you know, and then they just start monkey pawing the keyboard and sending an angrily,
why are you making fun of how I type?
And sending an angrily worded letter. And then they sit back and they're like, I'm totally gonna get hired. I don't know. Sorry, Steven. He says I think it was just banter. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, if you want, call us, email us, whatever. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, Greg, and you're done.
Let's talk like real car stuff.
Real car stuff. Mm-hmm. All right. So we actually had a question up over here on YouTube.
And if you guys have any questions about car stuff, maybe stuff that you were afraid to ask.
There's no stupid question.
No, there's no stupid question.
There's no stupid question.
There's no stupid question, and I will do my best to answer it in the least stupid way possible. I feel like one of my skills as an individual is to take pretty complex things and break them down into ways that are easier to understand. Like my monkey paw typing analogy.
Monkey paw typing was great.
It was perfect because like people were like, well, I don't understand what you mean by typing on a keyboard.
Yeah.
But if I do my motions like this, like monkey paw, people get it. Like, oh, he's typing, and that's obviously a keyboard. I can see that there. I'm like the smartest man.
You're great. So anyway, so let me get to the question. So Jacob, he has a question because a lot of people don't know that we carry FP.
Turbos. Like, force performance.
Ooh, they're old school and they're great.
Yeah.
Anyways, spool time on an FP Blue for an STI with an 8-centimeter housing and front mount intercooler.
Ty answered this one because I've actually never driven in an FP Blue. Like I'm like old school. Like I haven't run FP turbos for a long time.
The last one you ran was a green.
A green.
Yeah.
And this was like when the greens were cool. And honestly, but like FP makes good turbos. Like they're just good, decent, efficient, fun turbos. But I couldn't give you like an exact. So like Ty answered in that. I read this already. Ty answered and is like, hey, hit me up. I'll let you know exactly what it is because he literally has that exact.
Ty's a good guy, man.
Ty is a good guy. He's my buddy. Oh, Jamie, you want sponsorships? We do sponsorships in a sense. Just not. It just kind of depends. It's case by case basis. The thing I would say is send in your sponsorship proposal. And if you don't know how to if you don't know how to write a sponsorship proposal, look it up on the Googles and type into Google, how do I write a sponsorship proposal? And then basically copy that word for word.
Yeah.
Like
because like if you Google it, like there are quite a few resources on how sponsorships actually do work. Because most of the time people don't understand it's not us just giving you free parts because you go to car meets.
Yeah.
It's more like what can you do for us?
I'll tell all my Subaru friends about you.
I'm a big influence in the local scene.
James asked actually an interesting question. Why do people use hub-centric rings? Aren't the wheels centered by the lug nuts? That's why they have the taper on them. That actually is a good question because I have run wheels without hub-centric rings.
I'm running them right now.
A lot of people do, and you may never have an issue. But if you think about, okay, so then let's talk about this too, because there are two types of hub-centric rings. Well, let's call it three. You have the proper, which is the wheel itself is hub-centric. And what I'm talking about is, hold on, I need
go grab the wheel.
No, I'm not going to grab a wheel.
You're not going to grab a wheel?
Yeah, maybe
You're going to grab a wheel. I told you.
So this.
They'll really like.
Okay, if you guys can see in here. So what James is talking about, this is, your hub bore in the wheel, right? So your hub, if you take the wheel off the car, you're going to notice where the wheel bolts to the actual hub of the car. There's like a lip. Well, what you're trying to do is the hub-centric rings basically take up the distance between, your smaller board on your hub and fill in the gap between the wheel itself, and that's called hub-centric. Well, factory wheels are factory hub-centric, meaning that this lip in here sits directly on the lip on the hub itself. And so that's one type. The next type is running plastic hub-centric rings.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then the next type is running like aluminum or stainless steel or something like that. So the problem with the plastic ones is, well, one, they're cheap. Two, that's a good thing and a bad thing. One, they're cheap, and that's both good and bad. If you ever go out to the track and you're hard on your brakes, those will melt like instantly. And then what's the point of having, you literally don't have hub-centric rings anymore. So this is a good question, because it begs the point. If that plastic, if that wheel gets torqued hard enough, that's going to deform that plastic and just push it out of the way. Yeah. So then what's the point of having it?
Because then essentially you don't have it at all.
You wouldn't have it.
Relying on the lug
like
nut.
if your wheel got hit hard enough, not hit, but you know what I'm saying, like pushed hard enough to basically separate that seat between the lug nut and the wheel, that plastic spacer is not going to do anything for you.
No, especially with the abuse like that you would put something like that through.
Right. So then what's the point? I don't know. That's a really good question. That's honestly one I don't think I have an answer to.
So we actually,
I
have another one from Steven.
I'm not done.
You're not done yet? You said that was a good question.
Hub-centric rings. What are they good for? Absolutely nothing. Okay, I'm done.
No, the steel ones are good.
The steel ones are
the steel and aluminum
ones
are good.
It just helps keep the wheels centered, but you are right in that the lug nuts also do that exact same thing, but it's probably like a secondary type system just to help keep that wheel directly centered on the hub. Good? Good. Okay.
All right, so Steven again. So my motor has low compression in cylinder 2 and 4, as is tradition. What is the least expensive fix for the motor? Shops want $8,000 to $13,000.
Honestly,
what? Do you live in Australia?
Okay, what kind of car do you have? First of all,
I believe that he has like right there.
Because
he has a Hawkeye.
Okay, so he has an STI. Let's just call it an STI. Your cheapest and best and cheapest and best option, you have two. Okay, one, go buy an OEM short block. They're like $1,800.
Yeah, they're like $1,800, $1,900 from us.
You'll then have to buy a full complete gasket kit.
Which is another $250, $300.
You will want to buy like a timing belt kit, unless yours is like brand fresh new. It's always good just to refresh it. So I would buy a full timing belt kit,
which is another $200, $300.
And then what you really want to do is when you drop the oil, or like when you're taking the engine out, inspect the oil, whether you do it yourself or you have it sent off to a lab, and see how much particulate is in that oil. Because if you're
Blackstone, right?
Blackstone's a good one. What you're worried about is if there's no particulates in it, like let's just say you know, things just wore down and stuff like that, you know, natural wear and tear. You can reassemble the motor with all those parts that I just listed, and you could probably get it done, honestly, in a full day. If like you had a buddy helping you out, you know, you could get it done in a full day. You could pull your car in the morning and drive it out in the evening.
One thing I would recommend is, if you are going to be doing that, get the Killer Bee oil pickup. Yeah,
and there are other things that I would recommend. But if there are particulates in the oil, let's say a bearing went, or you know, there was some metal shavings from whether the pistons or the rings or the bearings, it doesn't matter, right? You need to get a new oil cooler. You have to get a new oil cooler, because the problem is a lot of times people will rebuild their engine, and like they've spun a rod bearing or a main bearing or something like that, and there's all of those metal flakes that are chilling, and your oil cooler is like a matrix, right? So it looks like a radiator, basically, if you look at a radiator, and it traps all those metal particulates in there. You go to start up the car, fresh oil flows through there, pulls those particulates out, goes into the new motor, and again. And it's a big waste of time and money, and it's worth the little bit of extra investment to buy a new oil cooler from Subaru. And if you're
reusing the turbo, flush that out.
You just want to flush everything out. But that's a good cheap way to do it. Another one is eBay.com. Don't know if you've ever heard of her. But you can buy like either rebuilt long blocks, you know, rebuilt short blocks. You can buy
like imported blocks.
Yeah. JDM, like you could go with a 207, which you're stepping down from a 2.5 to a 2.0, but they're strong engines. They usually have pretty low miles on them. You're going to take off your intake manifold, your exhaust manifold, and swap, you know, basically pull your block out, swap them back onto the JDM motor. I think there are certain years where you do have to buy a cam angle sensor bracket, and I think that's about it. Other than that, it's pretty much just a plug and play swap. And that's another good option for not very much money. There are a lot of options for you, but don't spend $8,000 to $13,000. You can literally go on, like, IAG sells, like, I think you could buy like a fully closed deck bad mamma jamma engine for $13,000. I mean, $13,000 will get you a lot. Like,
yeah.
You
want something that's like almost like an 800,000 horsepower.
Yeah,
boost?
$13,000 will get you an engine that will support like 800 wheel horsepower.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
All right, YouTube, quick.
Yeah.
We got Professional Bill S. Okay.
It's a good name.
I have a stock 04 STI. Should I mod it or keep it perfectly stock?
04 STI?
90,000 miles, and he says it's a classic.
Okay. This is a tough one, Professional Bill.
This is right
because
in that little spot right now.
and this is like this is my area, because I would literally be in the exact same position as you if I had like a clean 04, 05 STI. It's
and
like
confirmed everything stock.
Yeah, everything's stock, runs great, you know, not rebuilt, restore title, not salvage title, like everything's like minty fresh OEM. The one downside is that you have high miles. So like we have a guy here at work that would literally sell his child to buy like an 05 STI that had like 5,000 miles on it. Yep, all original, right? Like he's like one of those people. It doesn't matter the price.
He doesn't even blink.
Yeah, he just wants that super low miles, super minty fresh, like still has the OE tires, even if they're dry rotted. He's that type of person. So you're not going to be able to attract that type of person with that car because the miles is too high. I'd say anything under 30,000 and you've got like collector status STI, right? Yeah. But anything above that and you've got a clean stock STI. So with that said, if you are interested in keeping it stock, I would say be interested in keeping it stock-ish.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is just do very sensible mods to it. Like what I would do is I would probably buy.
I would retain all the stock stuff.
Yeah, keep all the stock stuff, but I would probably go through and like, you know, maybe do like RCE tarmac coilovers with the Bilstein struts. Very sensible. You know, almost keeps like the stock ride height. It's gonna feel a little bit better than stock, but just, you know, do smart modifications. I would probably do an aftermarket downpipe. I would do a drop-in air filter. I would keep the stock cat back on the car, keep it looking pretty stock, and go stage 2, basically. And that's really going to increase like the fun factor of the car. And then maybe just get some like good sticky tires for it, because the stock wheels are awesome. They're factory BBSs. The stock brakes are good. I might refresh the brakes, just go with, you know, new rotors, pads, lines, flush, just like love the car, you know, do basic mods to it and just love it. And then if not, and then if at later time you're like, no, I really want to modify it, then go nuts. But yeah, you know, anything that's going to be, you can put on easily, you can take off easily. No one's going to blink an eye. No one cares if you put on Bilstein coilovers on your car. But if you're like, oh yeah, I had Raceland extreme lows, you see all those scrapes underneath the car, suck. You know, that's when you're going to lose out on that potential buyer who's like, well, I wanted like a clean stock car, not one that's been drug on the ground.
Yeah, because like right now, because like now touching into it a little bit, how weird the car collection and like the whole market and everything goes, is that it's being predicted that the bug eye in the next few years, if it's a clean stock example, will start going back up into price. Yeah. Because the GCs are already doing that. Clean 2.5s.
Yeah. And it's hard to find a stock 0405 STI for, you know, under 17,000.
Yeah, like
and that's a low price.
And you're currently holding on to a unicorn right now. Mm-hmm. And then if you still have those stock 5x100 BBSs with no rashes, you're currently sitting on like $1,000 right there just for the wheels.
Jamie says, okay, got another question for you guys, broskies. I'm planning on doing my timing belt soon since I'm right around 70K miles on my 2011 WRX. What else you guys recommend doing while I'm that deep in my car? Honestly, at 70K, you're probably fine.
You're fine, honestly, for probably about another 30.
You know, you might want to do, if you are going to take out the radiator to do it, because it does help. It just gives you that little bit of extra room while the engine's in the car. If you're going to take out the radiator, then maybe do, you know, your stock radiator is going to last about 90 to 120.
Yeah, mine went at about 115.
Yeah, it's just, so maybe you could do a radiator hoses, and then just do the timing belt, water pump. Your oil pump is fine. You could, honestly, that's about it.
I really like the Tomei tensioner.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, or you mean the guide?
The guide, yeah.
Yeah, you could do an aftermarket timing guide, which sits right above the. I don't know why I'm making this motion. So it's like if you imagine this, and then it's here. No, so you've got like your main crank gear.
Yeah.
Like the main one dead center. And above that, you'll notice your stock one has a little tiny metal, like stamped steel guide. They sell aftermarket ones, which are quite a bit better. But if you're not like racing the car or something like that, it's just something cool that you can add on. But yeah, other than that, I wouldn't be too worried.
And then just check the sills, see if they need to be replaced, because those are cheap to do as long as you're right there. And also check for head gasket leak.
Yeah, so like any leaks basically. So like what's going to commonly leak is going to be, you know, your front main, your rear main seal, which is hard to check, but while you're already in there, you might as well. Your valve cover gasket seals. I would also just go through and check all of your rubber vacuum lines, like to and from the turbo, the PCV system off the heads, off the block itself. Just make sure everything's in good shape. Like the timing belt. The first timing belt service is a perfect time just to go through and just kind of do a general look over and refresh of anything. You know, maybe it'd be a good time to order new spark plugs, a new air filter, you know, bleed the brakes. Just plan a day, plan a weekend around it and be like, you know, especially because you're at 70K.
You're taking your car on a date.
Yeah, you're taking your car on a date. But you're at 70K, you don't even need to worry about it until you're at 90K. So you've got 20,000 miles. You can just start amassing parts. Like I would buy some nice DOT4 brake fluid. I would buy like a nice drop-in air filter. I would buy, you know, NGK spark plugs. Like you want to get good quality stuff that is going to cost a little bit more, but it's also going to last a lot longer. And so if you've got the time to kind of start like little by little, like, okay, cool. Like next paycheck, I'll order the spark plugs.
And I just get new radiator hoses as well.
Yeah. And if you want a new radiator and hoses, that would be a good time.
But yeah, like as you're saying, like if you have 20,000, like one paycheck, you can get one thing, another paycheck, you can get another thing. Just kind of wait. But if you want to be really anal, like you're one of those guys who changes your oil at 2,000 miles, like from daily driving, then go for it at 70.
So Corby, a guy who works here, commented on YouTube, and he's like, what happens when a pigeon gets too close to a black cat? So last night I had a little adventure.
Okay.
So I have video of it, but I watched a cat straight up like murk a pigeon. We've got like feral cats in our neighborhood because our neighbor lady feeds them, which is awesome. I like the feral cats. Some of them are nice, some of them aren't. But one of them is this black cat who is like master hunter, right?
Yeah.
Like the other cats are pretty lazy, but this thing is like always out looking to kill, and straight nabbed a pigeon. I went out there and I got the cat off of the pigeon, and I tried to get the pigeon to like move, run away. And the pigeon ran under my car, and the cat was like on it, like just, you know, got it and then took off with it. Well, like 20 minutes later, I went out to see if the cat had come back. I thought the pigeon was dead. And so I was just like filming it. And then I went up close to the cat took off, and the pigeon started moving. And then eventually, like the pigeon couldn't fly. His like legs were broken. I was carrying my baby in my hand. So I've got a phone in one hand
with your baby.
Yeah, I had a baby in one hand, phone in the other. And I'm like, and the pigeon like came up to me, like kind of wild, like broken leg came up to me, and like was like hoping that I would save him. I'm just like, sorry, pigeon, like you can't fly. Something's gonna kill you. And I didn't want to kill it. And I just figured I'd give the black cat the satisfaction of ripping the head off this pigeon and leaving it for my neighbor to find. I don't know. That's my story.
That's your story?
Let's back to car stuff. What's your opinion on the Eibach sway bar and lowering springs for the WRX? Good for street use. Awesome for street use. Honestly, it's one of the best. Like if you're, and the thing that someone says I'm weird. Thank you. If you're, I am. I pride myself on
He is a feral cat.
So, but like if you're, what was I going at with this? Oh, nice thing about Eibach is everything's balanced, right? Yep. So like they have their kits, right? So you buy like their pro kit, and it comes with springs and sway bars. It's all designed to work together to give your car better handling, you know, a little bit lower looks, lower center of gravity, less body roll. It's just, but it's all balanced. So it's not like you're guessing like, oh, do I need to run a 27 millimeter rear and like a 22 front, or like, how does that work? You know, what's the best setup? Like it's kind of a, you just check the, you know, click the box, pay your money, and you're going to get a very properly balanced setup right out of the box. It's going to rock and roll for daily driving. I actually think the Eibach springs feel a little bit better than stock.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like the stock,
there's a little bit more of a response to it.
Yeah, and they're not quite as like gooshy. Like I mean, he hates the stock WRX suspension with like a fiery passion. Every time we have to go out, because like I'll have him come out and drive the car while I film.
Yeah.
And every time he just like his biggest thing is he just rags on the suspension all day long. But like the iBox really kind of like they're not going to handle as well as like coilovers or something, but they're also a lot more comfortable, a lot more daily drivable, and just in my opinion a lot better for a daily drive if you do drive every day, day in and day out, and you don't want the coilover stiffness. They're fantastic.
And one thing I'd recommend too is if you do that kit, get good struts.
But the iBox are designed, they're fine. But if your car is higher mileage, then yeah, you'd want.
Well, it's like how you have a hard on for Bilstein.
Yeah.
Grab some Bilstein struts or some KYBs.
But Bilsteins are not cheap. Emerson,
well, talk about your perfect daily driver setup then.
Let's not.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, because I don't have the money for that kind of stuff. Emerson Argu ETA. Closed deck or sleeved for high horsepower. Honestly, most people are going closed deck now. Sleeved used to be all like the bee's knees, right? Like sleeved and O-ring and but like you look at what like IAG is doing and they're all using closed deck.
Yep.
And I don't know if they're using like, I think how they do it is they'll take a semi-closed deck and they'll actually add in supports that run down the cylinder wall, like obviously on the outside. And that seems to work incredibly well. I mean, they've had some really good results, but like people are still sleeving blocks and having good results with it. But the problem with sleeving is it has to be perfect. Like your machine shop has to know exactly what they're doing. And it's a lot more involved compared to just buying somebody's closed deck. So probably closed deck, I would say, is definitely like the easier way to do it. That's
a good question by Kevin. Let me read it.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, Kevin Benitez. I'm sure I said that right.
No, it's Benitez.
Benitez, okay. EBC red stuff with DBA T3 about to go on a 16 WRX, and he wants to enhance longevity. He also has a Mishimoto dual catch can. Like
longevity of the vehicle itself? I would do, if you can, in a place where you're legally allowed to, because it is for off-road use only. So, of course, this is on your race car, right, Kevin? The EGR block off. The EGR on those cars is like the biggest bullshit system that has ever been installed. Like on any direct, this is what pisses me off. On any direct injected car, the fact that those dickheads run EGRs from the factory on these cars with no catch can, nothing. So it's like you get like oil buildup on top of the valves, because the reason I'm saying this is your car, your 15, 16, 17, 18 plus WRX is direct injected, meaning your injector gets moved from the intake manifold, which squirts down over the intake valve and into the engine, down to, it's actually the injectors inside the combustion chamber itself. So no fuel gets squirted on the intake valves. What's interesting is if you take like an older STI or WRX, something that doesn't have direct injectors, you take off the intake valves, they look pretty nice.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of carbon buildup on them because you have this fuel constantly spraying them, keeping them clean. You can have 10,000 miles on a 15 plus WRX bone stock, and the intake valves are just covered in carbon and crap.
Yeah.
Right. And so like that to me would be your longevity. Other than that, like the FA20 platform is pretty stout. Keep up on the regular oil changes, do your normal maintenance, don't drive like a dickhead. But by driving like a dickhead, I mean like don't over rev the vehicle. It doesn't. The FA20 does not like super high revs.
When you get around 5,000-6,000, it's just like.
No, I mean like past red line, like because I've done it. I'm guilty of this. You're coming down into a corner a little hot, and like I like to rev match downshift and stuff as much as I can, but your RPMs go a little bit above red line. It's not uncommon for it to happen. The WRX doesn't like that. So just keep that in mind. I mean, most people don't do that, but like if you like to drive aggressively,
if you like to drive like Rick.
I only drive aggressively sometimes, but yeah, EGR block off plate and AOS will really help. Not necessarily the longevity of the engine, but like keeping the car out of Subaru for longer, because those intake valves, I think, what do they recommend? 35,000 miles to get them cleaned, something like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty soon, like this. Yeah. So you can keep the intake valves cleaner for a lot longer. Bam.
Chris has a good point. I'm an Audi tech, and it's not uncommon to have to do a manual decarb on the intake valves at 15,000 miles on direct injection
it's
cars.
Crazy how fast intake valves will just get coated in crap. And then the problem with it is it's a slow killer, right? Because like you get your brand new WRX, right? You drive it all super nice. Like you go to the dealership, you pay your $250,000 for whatever for your brand. I don't know what they cost for your brand new WRX. And, you know, you break it in, right? Because you read on the internet, you listen to some idiot on YouTube, and he's like, yeah, you know, drive nice. You know, for the first 200 miles, you only want to give 1% throttle. I don't know, whatever. So you break it in, okay? At 1,000 miles, you go get the oil change, you go wide open throttle, and you're like, wow, yeah, this thing's pretty fast. Like, I'm pretty stoked on this, right? And you get used to the power, but you just drive it every day. But slowly but surely, more and more carbon starts building up on the intake valves, and the seal that it has up against the seat in the head. So like my arm is an intake valve.
I appreciate this demonstration.
And here's the seat, you know, so normally it would be like a nice tight seal. Well, as more and more carbon builds up, the valve can't fully close. Yeah, I'm watching myself do that. If someone was watching this with no audio, they're like, what in the hell? Like, what are these people? So
that was one of our big people that could have like just pushed us above everything. They just happened to scroll past and all. Nope.
I hope someone makes a GIF out of that. Just that.
Please.
So, but anyway, it doesn't quite close all the way, and you start losing performance and power and torque and fuel economy and like everything that you want out of your WRX. It's the silent killer, right?
Yeah.
And the longer it goes, the more power you lose, you know. And so, yeah, like the Audi tech, like Chris says, he says it's not uncommon to do. And what he means by manual intake valve cleaning is they'll like walnut blast it, or I don't know if they have other fancier ways to do it, but they're basically what they're doing is they're closing those intake valves and they're like shooting walnut nuts down in there and chipping off the carbon off those intake valves. And it's like a safe and effective way to do it, but it's not easy. I'm sure he hates doing that. If I was Chris, I would flip off every Audi that I came across. But the thing is direct injection is awesome.
Oh yeah.
Direct injection is the way to go for an internal combustion engine. There's nothing better at the moment that you can go buy than a direct injected motor, because you're basically through the fuel injector, it just increases the amount of control you have over your combustion cycle, right? So before, fuel would, in a dumb way, like I look at direct injected compared to normal injectors the same way I look at normal injectors compared to carburetors.
Yeah.
Like carburetors, it's like you're basically just like spraying a hose and just hoping everything.
Good luck.
Yeah.
moving your thumb a little bit more for pressure.
You know, it's basically like a good luck fuel. Like hope you make it to the combustion chamber and you're still atomized and all that shit. Then fuel injectors came along and you could directly squirt fuel into the intake valve as it was opening. Great. Fuel economy increased. You could get a more precise control over how much fuel is going into the combustion chamber. Then direct injection comes along, and you literally can fire that injector like milliseconds before the entire combustion process is about to take place. So it's like, you know, normally fuel would come in right in the air, and it would get squished up in, and then eventually a spark plug, boom, goes down. With direct injection, all you have is air in there. The piston's coming up, and at the last second, it can go like that and fire, and basically fire its atomized fuel into the combustion chamber literally as the spark plug is arcing. And it's like coming out of the injector and combusting. And it's really cool and operates at like thousands of PSI. So it's like, it's really freaking neat. Thank you.
All right, let's go do a YouTube question. This dude, C Footy WRX, he has two questions. So first one, opinion on the Mishimoto top mount for the GR WRX, followed by front mount intercooler on a stock turbo on a Subi, worth it.
Wait, what? I'm sorry, what? I'm not
so his opinion, he wants to know what our opinion is on the Mishimoto top mount for the GR.
It's great. It's fine.
And then is a front mount with a stock turbo on a Subi worth it?
If you like it, then it is, because you're going to get, and technically, I think the people use the word lag, right? Turbo lag.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a pretty blanket statement. And I wish Marty was here, because he'd be like, Rick, you're an idiot. Marty from Turbo Smart. He's like my go-to turbo guy and I like when he calls me an idiot.
The Turbo Zen Master.
The Turbo Zen Master. But like people use lag as like a very generic statement. Well, what you're doing when you have a front mount, you have to think like a balloon, right? So I wish I had a balloon here, but like a top mount intercooler is like blowing up one of those little kiddie balloons, right? Just a tiny one.
Yeah.
And it's like, right? Adding a front mount, because you have so much more volume, it's like blowing up a larger balloon.
Yeah.
Takes a few breaths to get all that air in there to fill it up. And that's kind of the analogy I would use on a front mount is it takes a little bit longer for the turbo to fill up that entire volume with pressurized air. So that's the downside. The upside is you're getting much cooler air, so denser air. The air molecules are closer together because it's colder, right? And so the engine's happier. You can make a little bit more power. But on a stock turboed car, like it's not required.
Yeah.
But if you like it, if you like the way it looks, I want a front mount, then go for it. You'll be perfectly happy. But if you're like debating like what's going to give me the best performance on my stock
and the
turbo
spool.
Yeah, and on my stock turbo car,
yeah.
top mount all the way.
Yep.
That's all. Anyway.
All right. So Kevin, he has a question. Will an air oil separator take place of his catch can?
Yes. And an air oil separator is like catch can, but just more efficient in the way that it purposefully has a purpose to separate the oil from nice clean air. So like through a chamber, and every company has a different way of doing it, but through chambers and through black magic voodoo-ry, it's just more efficient at taking those oil particulates and separating them from the air, dropping the oil down and sending clean air back to the engine to get burned.
So Chris just said how they do the carbing, the carb clean, whatever.
Oh,
it's terrible. We use zip ties to break everything loose on the valves in combination with various chemicals.
It sounds about like I would do it. I would literally take off the intake manifold, look down in there and just see like a swath of black. And I would probably first I would get like a screwdriver and just like chunk away at the big tips. And then I would get like a big heavy duty zip tie and I would just start chipping at it.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. It is so dumb. Yeah. So anything you can do to prevent intake buildup on your, or excuse me, carbon buildup on your intake mat or whatever. Anyway, we're about done here.
Yep. It is time. Review what we got.
Yes. So Bart.
Okay, go.
Bart says there. This is what I'm talking about. Bart says a front mount will add to the response time of the turbo. So it's like I think they call it like boost threshold, right? Where I think you go into a positive pressure as opposed to a vacuum. It adds to that boost threshold where it takes longer for the turbo to cross over that threshold into boost, which is what we all want. What you can do, if you're brave, is just don't run a blow-off valve. Like the old school JDM cars, they would literally not run a blow-off valve because all a blow-off valve it does is releases boost pressure. And why would you want to do that? Don't listen to me, by the way. I'm just being, what is it called? Satirical.
Yeah, it's like at the same time run anti-lag as well.
Yeah, run anti-lag, no blow-off valve. You'll never have boost problems ever again in your life. Anyway, see you, Steven. Thanks for joining us. Are there any questions on YouTube before we... Bob says he's ready to get interviewed. Cool. Are you a maester? I don't know what people are talking about. Anyway, is there anything else you wanted to talk about today?
As far as I'm aware, no. We have the sales going on.
So NVIDIA 10% off Cusco if you want some braces and cool Cusco. Cusco makes some of the cool stuff. Plus, I love talking to the Cusco guys.
They're so respectful.
And Japanese.
Yes.
And I like Japanese people. Crawford Performance, since we were talking about air oil separators, if my talk has inspired you to go out and buy an air oil separator, do it now because they're 15% off and that sale ends today. And then if you want to protect your oil covers, aka coilovers, ISC is giving away free sleeves with a coilover purchase. And if you just want to, if you've already got coilovers and you're looking to protect them, you can just buy the sleeves separate. They're actually really cool.
And like, that's one thing I regret not getting for my coilovers.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, as soon as this video ends, first of all, I'm going to go get some crappy food that'll make me tired and want to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Because I didn't bring my lunch today.
As is tradition.
As is tradition. And then I'm going to work on the new project that we got. So stay tuned. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do. You can follow me on Instagram, Rick__Conk, C-O-N-K. You can follow this guy, DJ Pumpkin, with a Y.
Just Pumpkin.
Oh, Pumpkin. Even though he doesn't really do, he's funny, but I actually do car stuff. He just,
yeah, he does car stuff.
I think he posts memes and stuff. But if you want to follow up, like I'll post like behind the scenes, and then make sure to follow us on Instagram, RallySportDirect, and on Snapchat, RallySportDirect, RallySport Snap. Sorry. And
Twitter is RallySportTweet.
Look at my big muscles. Okay. See you later, guys. Bye.